Welcome back to NewsWire. Well, Michael DeCourcy is not watching his Pittsburgh Steelers. It's hard to pull him away from college basketball, so that's why we're bringing him on the show today to talk some college hoops here. Mike, the season, of course, now off to a rousing start. We'll break down some of the games that happened last night, also take a look at some games coming up. Thanks for coming on once again. All right, so here we are, another team, another Duke team ranked inside the top 5. They improved to 5-0 on the year. They beat Kansas 78-66. Sluggish start for Kansas to start the year. They're ranked inside the top 25, Mike, but I have a feeling next week they will not be. Cameron Boozer, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 of 17, and here we are again, another year where the Blue Devils are ranked inside the top 5, another year where they have the favorite to potentially even win the Wooden Award at the end of the season as well.
Interesting thing about Duke that I discovered, I had been aware of it, but not aware of the numbers. Since 2019-20, Duke has had 5 consecutive seasons in which they did not have a single player average even 5 assists a game. They have been pointless in a way. They just have not had the level of point guard play that carries, say, the Paolo Banchero team to the championship in 2022, or last year's Cooper Flagg team to the championship. And so now have they addressed that? And I thought last night was the first glimpse we've seen of a true Duke point guard since Trey Jones finished in 2020. I thought Cayden Boozer looked really good and really in command when he was on the floor. And I think it's time for Duke to consider playing 2 Boozers, not just Cameron, the fantastic power forward prospect that we all knew about coming in, but his younger brother looks like a legit point guard, and he's definitely the best chance Duke has of mastering that position.
And right now, Cam Boozer is the favorite to win the Wooden Award. Very early on in the season, naturally, but Cooper Flagg, of course, best player in the country last season, number 1 overall pick in the draft, followed by Braden Smith, JT Toppin of Texas Tech, and then certainly there's some other options there, but not the favorites to win the Wooden Award at the moment. All right, another season of Tom Izzo basketball in Michigan State off to a good start, 83-66. They end up beating Kentucky, who was ranked higher than them going into this game. Jeremy Fears, 8 points, 13 assists, 6 rebounds, his plus-minus plus 19. Does Tom Izzo have another team this season, Mike, it seems like at least ranked better than they were at the start of last year? I know that team had to kind of scrounge to get into the tournament.
Yeah, what you see the value of having a point guard like Jeremy Fears, 13 assists, and I think he's had no fewer than 8 assists in any game so far this season. And that's with a team that began the year struggling to make shots. Last night at the Garden, Kentucky found out that what was on the scouting report wasn't on the floor because all these guys that hadn't made any shots at all started draining threes, Kurtang being the most obvious of that group. But they had a lot of different guys come out and make threes. And some of that was Kentucky being too compliant on defense, but some of it was the confidence that built up with Michigan State through the course of that game. And also, as I mentioned, Fears getting the ball to guys when they were open and in great position to shoot and putting it in the shooting pocket so that they could get off the shot before the defense was able to close. Fears is a tremendous player. They've got great power up front. Cone Carr is the most dynamic player in all of college basketball, and I'm not even sure it's close. He's a future, if they ever have the slam dunk contest again, Craig, and I'm not sure whether they will, if they do, he's a future slam dunk champion. The guy's above the rim the whole game. But what Tom has done is continued to address the culture of his program. This is how Michigan State's going to be. Will he dabble in the transfer portal? Yes, but he's not going to turn over his whole roster from year to year. He wants guys who want to be Spartans, and so far it's looking pretty good.
Let's get to tonight's game, 7 p.m. Eastern. 2 teams searching for a national championship this season. UConn came up just short against the Gators in the national championship, but they're bringing a ton of their guys back this year. 5.5-point favorites. They're undefeated after beating BYU by a close margin over the weekend. The Huskies are 5.5-point favorites over Arizona tonight, total of 156.5. Arizona, of course, has that season opening win against Florida, so 2 really strong teams squaring off this evening.
Yeah, Arizona also defeated UCLA last Friday in LA. I didn't like that Arizona performance quite as much. They really struggled against the UCLA defense. So what kind of D can UConn present tonight? I think that's going to be the key for the Huskies. How good are they defensively at this stage of the season? Offensively, UConn's going to be fine. I think you're going to see them continue to advance and progress, but they need to be exceptional defensively to deal with all the physical power that Arizona brings to the game, as well as here we are on the point guards again. Jaden Bradley, who was fantastic down the stretch against the Bruins, made the difference in that game. Otherwise, Arizona would be coming into this game off a loss.
Alabama takes on Illinois tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Alabama's lone blemish this season is losing to one of the best teams in the country in Purdue. They're on the road tonight against Illinois. Another great matchup here tonight. And we know, Mike, when Alabama plays, it's all about tempo. 181.5 is the total tonight. And you see this you're going to see this all season long. We'll probably hit a 200 like we did last year in the NCAA tournament. But Illinois, on paper, a little bit better here, but you kind of know when you're betting this game very early on if you have a shot with Alabama, don't you?
Yeah, I think some of the favorite aspect of this is that the game will be played in Chicago, so it's a 2-hour ride on a nice bus for Illinois, and Alabama's got to jet up from the South. So I think that has something to do with it. And obviously, most of the fans in the building will be rooting for the Illini. I think one of the things that's interesting is that Illinois still isn't whole or hasn't been whole. Mihailo Petrovic, who was to be their starting point guard, hasn't played yet. Not sure about his status for tonight. In his stead, the Illini have been very good. Kylan Boswell has been running the point for the most part and has been fantastic, averaging 18 points a game. I think they want to get him back to being off the ball so that they can see what Petrovic can provide. They did a really nice job of going to Europe and bringing in a couple of Merkovic and Petrovic, as well as the size of the Ivisic twins. So they've got a lot to offer, and it'll be very interesting to see how they match up with all that firepower that Alabama brings.
Thanks again, Mike, for coming on. Enjoy the games and, of course, football this weekend, and we'll talk again next week. Thanks for coming on the show.